Lover was supposed to be the calm after the storm. Pastels, glitter, butterflies. A world built to prove things were finally okay again. The marketing promised lightness, healing, fun. And for a while, it almost convinced us. But the longer you sit with Lover, the more the cracks start to show. Beneath all of the colors, yes, there is peace, but it's a jittery, anxious kind of peace, like someone trying too hard to smile for the photo. Despite all of the Lisa Frank adjacent aesthetics and bubblegum poppy singles, Lover is not a fairy tale. The album and era itself is more like a recovery. It is beautiful, but it's also uneasy and half-believed. Lover may look like a celebration of love, and yes, it is, but it's also full of insecurity, regret, and fear of loss. It definitely introduced a softer and more open Taylor, while also being her most directly political era. And just as the album and the era seemed to hit its stride, absolutely everything changed. In this video, we are diving into the Lover era, the music, the visuals, the themes, the rollout. And I think it's really important to understand that more than any of Taylor's eras, this was a huge turning point. And that shift didn't start with the songs. No. It started with the fine print. When Taylor signed with Republic Records in 2018, the big news was that she'd finally own her masters. Before that, Big Machine Records controlled everything from her debut to Reputation. Lover marked a fresh start. She owned it outright and even secured protections for other artists. Lover was the first album that was truly, completely hers. With the business side settled, Taylor started building her next world. The album as a whole is romantic, layered, and intentionally a little chaotic. Jack Antonoff returned as her main collaborator, and Joel Little helped produce the 2 lead singles, which we will get to. This era also marked the full evolution of the Taylor Swift Easter egg. This is the era when the clowns went absolutely feral. Clues were not just in lyrics anymore. They weren't just like uppercase letters in random parts of song titles. They were everywhere. Interviews, outfits, emojis, set design. The rollout became like an interactive game. And on to the singles, like I promised. The first single is one of the most polarizing songs in her catalog, right up there with Sexy Baby. The lead single, Me, featuring Brendan Urie, dropped in 2019. It is bubblegum pop chaos. The entire video was pastel snakes, paint explosions, kittens. It's very, very self-aware, totally over the top. The second single, You Need to Calm Down, arrived in June, which was a part pride anthem, part political statement. Taylor urged her fans to support the Equality Act, and over 500,000 responded. This sort of activism, which was something she very much avoided before, was really ingrained in this era and became part of the story. In August, Taylor revealed the Lover music video, and with it, gave us one of, if not the most iconic Easter egg object lore. I don't know exactly what to call it. We got the Lover house, folks, and this house is really, it could be its own era, essentially. When we first see the Lover house in the Lover music video, it's filled with symbolic rooms, each one reflecting a different emotional phase of a relationship, or possibly her career, or just vibes or eras. I don't think it's ever been outright stated what each room in that Lover house represents. It's really just fan speculation. In my opinion, I'm not 100% on this, but I lean more towards the idea that the house seemed to be a metaphor for how many versions of herself she was housing at once. Okay, now on to the tracks themselves. Overall, this album is an exploration of all the ways all sorts of love can exist. Messy, euphoric, happy, heartbreaking, all the ways. And I wrote notes for every single song, and that could be an entire video on its own. It would double, if not triple, the length of this video. I really had to scale it back and, chill the fuck out. I'm going to attempt to hit the cliff notes as best as I can, which means I'm not going to have commentary on every single song, just the ones that I'm like, no, I have to speak about this. Starting from the very top, track number 1 is I Forgot That You Existed, and track number 2, we didn't make it very far without me needing to go on a tangent, is Cruel Summer. The crown jewel of Lover, and for many fans, the song that was the era, despite not even being a single initially. Cruel Summer is euphoric and emotionally volatile. All the synths and shouting really capture what it's like to fall for someone you are terrified to lose. When Taylor yells he looks up grinning like a devil, it sounds like she is about to combust. The song is just romantic panic. The fact that it didn't get single treatment until 4 years later feels absolutely criminal. Some stars just wait for their moment to shine, and the second Cruel Summer got her moment, she blinded the world. Track number 3, Lover. At its core, this is a song about deep commitment and a longing for permanence in love. But Taylor's later revelation that it comes from an anxious place really solidified my belief that this album was not all sunshine and rainbows. What first seemed like a simple wedding-style ballad is actually layered with subtle insecurity and a desire for reassurance. Leaving the Christmas lights up only like a teeny bit longer than what's considered normal, making rules together, staying close forever. This is all seemingly domestic bliss, but the way Taylor frames these ideas suggests a quiet fear of losing what she has found. Track number 3 is The Man, and it's one of Taylor's boldest songs, both lyrically and in its execution and audacity. She embodies the role of the man with confidence and irony, turning the very system that works against her into satire. It is obviously a critique of how gender dictates power, perception, and opportunity, forcing listeners to confront the reality of what it means to succeed as a woman in a man's world. Track number 4.
It's track number 5. Please excuse my incompetence.
Is The Archer. And if Lover is, as I mentioned, anxiety wrapped in rainbows, The Archer is where that wrapping starts to come undone. If you didn't already know, Taylor has a tradition of reserving track 5 for her most vulnerable, heart-wrenching songs. And I would say that The Archer fits that bill perfectly. Who could ever leave me, darling, but who could stay? That's a killer. Personally, the they see right through me, they see right through me, I see right through me emotions. The song really captures that self-fulfilling prophecy of expecting abandonment and then, whoops-a-daisy, accidentally daring someone to prove you right. That's for us fearful avoidance, and the fearful avoidance only. Thank you. Track number 6 is I Think He Knows, which is Taylor being absolutely playfully feral and horny, which I love. Number 7, Miss Americana and the Heartbreak Prince. I know I said like 8 seconds ago that I was going to stick to the Cliff Notes version, and I am trying my best. But this song, let me preface with saying Taylor specifically has said this song is about being disillusioned with American politics, whatever. Obviously, what Taylor says is canon, but me, myself, and you're not going to get me. No, you're not going to get me to believe that this is American politics. Get out of here. No.
Absolutely not. Not me. Certainly not I.
I call Bologna. Taylor says the song is about her disillusionment with America. And sure, the cheer squads and dark hallways can map onto political metaphors, okay. I think, at most, that is only part of it. At least it has nothing to do with it and it was a complete cover, but I digress. Miss Americana and the Heartbreak Prince feels more like a story about the politics of fame, the performance, the pressure, and how it was all tearing her down. The metaphors like prom dresses, scoreboards, pageant smiles mirror the pageantry she's been trapped in for years, and these Americana metaphors, especially pageantry, are used very consistently from this point forward. It's a reoccurring theme for Taylor. I just don't buy that the American glory fading is about a country. I really feel like it's about her public image crumbling. She's running for her life just to hold on to something real, which is the Heartbreak Prince. That's where he comes in. He's not a symbol of rebellion for a cause. He's not the antagonist. The Heartbreak Prince is an emotional safe haven she's clinging to while the world closes in. Track number 8 is Paper Rings. Track number 9 is Cornelia Street.
For track 10, Death by a Thousand Cuts, I am again going against the canonical explanation Taylor Swift gave for this song. She said it was inspired by the 2019 Netflix movie Something Great, I believe it's called. Something Great, Someone Great, which is about a woman that's going through a breakup with somebody she thought was the one. Allegedly, I have not seen it. Taylor said that the film hit her so hard, it made her feel like, what would it be like to lose the one that I am currently in a relationship with right now? And that the song is nothing to do with her real life and is instead a what if type of heartbreak situation. Whatever. Now, if you're asking me, which nobody is, but I'm still going to give my 2 cents, Death by a Thousand Cuts crawled so that the Tortured Poets Department could have a full-blown manic episode. I say that without judgment, as I am somebody who has been familiar with a manic episode or two, clinically. Give it a listen back. I'm just saying it's giving foreshadowing, babes. It really is. And speaking of babes, good transition there. Track number 11 is London Boy, which I love. I think it's a sleeper hit. It's campy. It's cute. I know a lot of people don't like that style of song from Taylor. I love it. It's corny, but it's corny on purpose. Number 12, Soon You'll Get Better, featuring the Chicks. I think we can all agree that this is a gut punch, to say the very least. And I would argue that this is one of, if not the most raw and personal songs she has in her entire discography. I honestly don't listen to this song much because, as I'm sure if any of you have gone through the same thing, it's not an easy listen, but it also feels like I'm intruding on like a diary entry, like something I'm not supposed to know. It's very fragile and very hesitant, like she's barely able to even sing and get the words out, which is again why it's so difficult for me to listen to. Taylor does a really great job at putting you in that hospital room, and if you have unfortunately been in that hospital room in this sort of situation, you know that she paints the picture devastatingly perfect.
Track number 13 is False God, one of my all-time favorite Taylor Swift songs, and I also consider this song Don't Blame Me's big sister. Track number 14, You Need to Calm Down. Track number 15, Afterglow, another one of my all-time favorite Taylor Swift songs and another one for the fearful avoidance. Track number 16, Me. I know I have touched on this song already, but I'm going to have a moment of bravery and honesty and be vulnerable. I like Me. I like this song. I have always liked this song. I just think it's fun and goofy and silly. It's just a good time. And this song is used and abused on my cleaning playlist. What I will not defend is that spelling is fun bit. I wasn't a fan of that. I thought it was stupid, and now it's like completely retconned, gone, nowhere to be found. So I'm going to assume that the masses were also not impressed with that little bit of the song.
Track number 17, It's Nice to Have a Friend. I cannot pinpoint why I feel such a strong connection to this song. Admittedly, it's not some ballad or anything with super in-depth lyrics. It is like surface level in a way, but it draws a parallel between childhood and love, which Taylor does do a lot in her discography, especially from this point forward. And personally, I love that parallel. And I like that it's sort of a lullaby.
The final song on Lover is Daylight, which is the perfect way to end the album. It's soft and warm and feels like an emotional landing after all the highs, glitter, and anxiety that came before it. If False God is Don't Blame Me's big sister, Daylight is New Year's Day's big sister.
Now we are going to chat about, I'm not sure what to call them, vault tracks, like leaked tracks. I'm not entirely sure. We are going to start with All of the Girls You Loved Before. In early 2023, I want to say, snippets of this song got leaked online and gained a lot of traction on TikTok. It was everywhere on TikTok. Responding to the growing interest, like the very smart business lady she is, Taylor officially released the song in March, which coincided with the start of the Eras Tour.
Weirdly, Taylor did not make a formal statement upon its release, and I thought she may have given a little speech before playing it live during the surprise songs segment. But no, she just went right into it without saying anything. To my knowledge, at least. I could be wrong, but I don't think she ever addressed the release.
Now we need to talk about the song Need. When I heard Need, I stopped in my tracks immediately. Mind you, I heard Need after the Tortured Poets Department came out. I was really late on that game. I said, hold the fuck on. What is happening? It is very clear and apparent to me why Need was left off of the final version of Lover. I'll say that. And I will also say it has absolutely nothing to do with the quality of the song. The song is fantastic. It's also kind of like a lullaby nursery rhyme vibe, like it's nice to have a friend. Need, for those of you who are interested in the speculative lore, is basically confirmation about just how long the messy, what I call British boy love triangle was going on for. To be very clear, I don't actually give a shit. I don't care that deeply about what Taylor Swift does with her life. I quite frankly have my own life to worry about. I honestly just like connecting dots and shit like that. I am delusional, mentally ill, and I like to think that I am a pop culture Sherlock Holmes. I do the same exact thing with wrestling storylines. It's just like kind of soap opera-y to me, which I know to some people can sound really harsh, like, bitch, this is her life. But I do think there are some intentional Easter eggs put in. I don't think Taylor's oblivious to this, but I am aware that she's a human being and like totally get if you're not into the speculative lore. But for those of you who are interested in the lore, Need is critical. I am going to share some of the lyrics just in case you have not heard them before and in advance, okay? I'm just gonna say them. I'm not gonna sing them. I wouldn't do that to my worst enemy. Want is the cigarette smoke on a jacket you wore to the wrong part of town. Right there. First line. If you know, you know. Desire is the sound of the whiskey telling me you miss me. Can you come around? Passion is a passing thing. It's accidental chemistry. Lust is a liar, a short-lived fire. It ain't what you and I are at all. Bitch. I would go anywhere that you lead. I am hopeless, breathless, burning slow. Touch me, hold me, tell me I won't let you go. I won't leave. It's a need. Danger is 1,000 prickles on my neck telling me to run or to freeze. Fear is the nightmare I had. You were with someone else. You forgot about me. Okay. We know who Smoke and Danger and Gray refer to. I say all of this to say that Lover is the foundation on which the folklore house was built, the first leaf to fall in the evermore woods, the first tick of the clock for midnights, and the flicker of a stray ember that lit up the Tortured Poets Department and burned it all to the fucking ground. Did that make sense? Probably no. And if I could be any more insufferable, if that was even possible, I'm gonna blame that entire diatribe that made absolutely no sense on my Pisces stellium. Thank you.
Astrology is dark-sided. I planted that seed and I will see the harvest. Get out of my house. It's about the moon because they only believe in the moon and the gods and the this and the gargoyles, psychics. Everything's ungodly. Dark-sided! Get out!
We have spent a lot of time on the songs, more time than I intended to, but you know, it is what it is. We are now moving on to the release of Lover. In August 2019, the reaction was huge and fans were ready for a softer, more open Taylor. It was marketed as sort of the sister album to Reputation, like the brighter rainbowy version, and the Swifties were all about it.
By September, the title track had hit #1 on iTunes in over 100 countries. At the AMAs, she performed a Lover-themed medley before being named Artist of the Decade. Still, not everything from Lover landed. As I mentioned, Me and You Need to Calm Down sparked mixed reactions. Some found the songs fun and empowering. Others called them surface level or even cringe. Regardless, both did very well commercially, and the album debuted at #1. Visually, Lover was such a hit. Gone were the dark silhouettes, replaced by pastels, floaty florals, and chaotic millennial-coded maximalism.
And you know what? I'm going to be vulnerable again. I'm going to stand in my truth and say I liked that Versace romper situation that she wore to the VMAs. I sure did. She looked like a flashy baton girl. And if there's one thing that I enjoy, it is baton girl chic.
The Lover era seemed ready to bloom into this new live part of the era. But all of that was abruptly cut short. Taylor announced Loverfest, a festival-style tour, in September 2019. She made it very clear in her post/announcement on Instagram that the Lover era was designed to exist in motion. Pastel colors, open-air crowds, and the joy of live connection, saying, quote, "For me, the Lover album is open fields and sunsets and summer. I want to celebrate the album and perform it live with you in a way that feels authentic to the music. I want to go to some places I haven't been and play festivals for the first time in ages. And where we didn't have festivals, we made some. Introducing Loverfest East and Loverfest West." I gotta tell you, that last bit, that Loverfest East-West nonsense, very difficult to say.
Oh. What are you... Oh, my dad.
The latter tailor-made festivals, and don't worry, I'm pausing for laughter, thank you, would take place at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, and the spectacular home of the once greatest football team of all time. And getting back to that, by the way, Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts, which is about an hour and a half from Boston. All the other dates were international, and Taylor certainly got some pushback on this. Many Swifties mentioned how this was unfair because the vast majority of US fans would not only have to buy a ticket to see this live, but also have to pay for a whole-ass vacation. Very valid complaints, of course. That is pricing out fans in a crazy way. However, if I'm not mistaken, Taylor wanted limited dates so she could be more present for her mother, Andrea, the subject of Soon You'll Get Better. Obviously, being there, being available for her very sick mother was top priority for her. And I think we can all relate to that. That is also extremely valid. We really don't know a ton about Loverfest. We actually know next to nothing about Loverfest. But what we do have, and what we cling to, is that 360-degree heart-shaped stage. Oh, the Loverfest theorists, they take that one crumb of information, a fat, delicious crumb from the best part of the bread, might I add, and use it as a springboard for ideas of what could have been. Another juicy fat crumb. Fucking juicy fat crumb. Another fat, juicy crumb was the fact that it was marketed Taylor and Friends. That makes sense, you know, it was supposed to be a festival. Some of the speculated friends are or were Brendan Urie or even Panic at the Disco, and the Chicks, obviously, because of the album features. Katy Perry was also heavily speculated because of her appearance in the You Need to Calm Down video. Personally, I feel like drag shows would have absolutely been a part of this festival as well. And oh man, how I miss the Lover era. Working on this video has made me realize I am a lover baby. I am not ashamed to say it. I know everyone thinks this album is caca poo poo, her worst ever. Well, maybe not anymore as of Life of a Showgirl, but that's neither here nor there. We'll get there in a couple more years. We'll discuss the Life of a Showgirl. Guys, I was in it. From tracks 1 to 4, I was feeling it. Elizabeth Taylor is See You Next Tuesday and every other day of the week, as a matter of fact. Does it make any sense? No. Why are we using Elizabeth Taylor as like this theme of a love song? Elizabeth Taylor, of all people? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Taylor has referred to herself as Elizabeth Taylor, Burton to this Taylor, whatever. So it means something to her. Love that. I just like the beat. I think good song. The Ophelia shit has been talked about ad nauseum. Is it a bop? Yes. Do I dance around my kitchen listening to it? Also, yes. Is the blatant misunderstanding of Hamlet as a play and Ophelia as a person make me cringe? Yeah, but like, we all know Hamlet. We all know that. I knew the second I saw that track list leak and I saw the song name was canceled. I can't even start with how over that fucking word I am. Woke and canceled, not as like ideas. Like I like the definition of what it is, the idea of what it is. I'm over the word. As soon as fucking Ted Cruz was up on a podium looking like the fucking sentient hemorrhoid that he is, talking about woke and cancel culture and canceled with his fucking stupid greasy ass used car salesman hair, I said no, we're done with this word. We're not using it anymore. And as soon as I saw it on the track list, I started to tank my expectations of what this album is. Now, was it worse than what I thought it would be? 100%. That, I think, is her worst song ever, and it sucks because the production on that is fantastic. I was very bothered that it was wasted. Emotionally and spiritually, I am still at the restaurant, and so far, no album thus far has made me want to ask for the check, and I'll leave it there. I have always said Evermore is my all-time numero uno favorite Taylor album, and I do think that is her magnum opus. I know the folklore girlies like to forget about Evermore. I'm getting way ahead of myself. What I'm trying to say is that Lover, the album, has 0 skips for me. The aesthetics of it all, also very me. And this era was my favorite version of Taylor, at least the side of her she put out front and center for us to see. Obviously, I don't know this girl. I went on a tangent, but getting back to Loverfest, as the big bad of 2020 swept across the world, the entire event was first postponed and then canceled. Taylor did have a few live moments, most notably the City of Lover concert in Paris. It was intimate, one night only, and focused entirely on Lover tracks. Songs like Cornelia Street and especially Daylight, it's the only version of Daylight I listened to, hit harder in that stripped down setting, and the romantic Paris backdrop was a perfect match. Genius marketing, who would have thunk, from Taylor Swift. A recording of the show later aired as Lover Live from Paris on Disney+, and it was/is absolutely beautiful. I think the Paris show, as well as the False God SNL performance and the BBC Live Lounge, I believe it was, those all showed this sexy noir false gaudy side of Lover. And I love that specific vibe of the era just as much as I love the pastel gaudy style. The Paris show was stunning, but it sucks that Lover never got to fully exist the way it was meant to. Vibrant, celebratory, and communal. Even though the Lover era never got the full tour it deserved, it certainly wasn't over, as we know, spoiler alert. In fact, in early 2020, it found a second life, not on stage, but on screen. In January, Netflix released Miss Americana, a documentary that offered fans a far more personal, unfiltered look at Taylor than they'd ever seen before. It followed her through the making of Lover, the fallout from her political silence, and her journey into becoming more vocal and socially engaged. We see Taylor wrestling with public perception, that weight of being constantly watched, and with the question of how much of herself she's allowed to show. 3 years after the Lover era was abruptly paused, it finally got its third wind. Yes, third, 3. A well-deserved third wind on the biggest stage possible. When the Eras Tour launched in March 2023, Lover took the opening slot. The show began with Miss Americana and the Heartbreak Prince, and then there was Cruel Summer. As I mentioned earlier, that was a fan favorite from day one, but never released as a single until the Eras Tour. The tour gave the song so much momentum, this whole new life with TikTok. It completely caught on fire. In October 2023, over 4 years after the album dropped, Cruel Summer finally hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was a victory that, personally at least, felt retroactive. Like the universe was finally catching up, and it caught all the way up. What started as a glittery celebration became something much deeper. When I think of Lover as an era, I think of it as a bridge. This was the first album Taylor fully owned. This was her first world that she built on her own terms. It was sweet, it was chaotic, it was personal, and it marked a significant turning point for her. Even without the tour it deserved, Lover endured. Living on through the Eras Tour, the most iconic part of the Eras Tour, dare I say, fan devotion, and the long overdue rise of Cruel Summer, which, don't quote me on this, I'm almost positive it is her most successful song to date, and well deserved. As the lights of Lover faded and as the big bad of 2020 hit, Taylor, like many of us, didn't really return back to work in her usual way. Instead of returning to the spotlight, she slipped through the cracks of the pastel dream and wandered into the wilderness of her imagination. To a place where her fringe jackets were traded for cardigans, where her melodies grew roots, her memories grew moss, and the gates to her secret garden were swung open.
Mistakes in bars. That man who threw blankets over my bar.